It only took them 9 episodes, guys. We finally have an episode of RWBY Volume 4 with all 4 of our main girls. Hey everybody out there in YouTube land, Jake of the OneManBand is back again, giving you guys another RWBY episodic review. This time we're taking a look at Volume 4, Episode 9. Finally getting caught up in the reviews. Alrighty, so this episode's name is 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. I know it's a common phrase, but I'm sorry, but it just, by the title, it sounds like nothing's really gonna happen in this video. Essentially what this saying means is that you take 2 steps forward in something you're working on, but in something either somewhat related or not even related, you take 2 steps back. So essentially you don't really make that much progress even though you feel like you did. So maybe it's some form of analogy for all 4 of our girls somehow? They have made strides in certain areas, but they've lacked in other areas? Maybe I just got way more philosophical than I should have. But enough of that. Let's get straight to the episode, and we actually start back up with Yang. And I'm actually very excited that we're finally back with Yang, because we haven't seen Yang in a while. We saw her, she just had taken up her metal arm, and I wanted to see, okay, so she's gonna have to get used to the metal arm, she's gonna have to, you know, still get over her PTSD a little, she's, you know, she's got over it enough to put the arm on, but maybe she's gonna have to, you know, work a little bit more to, you know, actually get going. So we see that she's sparring with Tai Yang, and it's actually a pretty good sparring match. She's able to move, duck, dodge, weave, punch, and kick all pretty much fluidly. The arm doesn't seem to be hindering her in any way, and let it be known that they have the best spectator. Little Zwei is watching them, and he has just gotten cuter since Volume 3. Now he's a bit more fluffy, he looks a little bit more fat, and he even has like more detail on a collar that he has. I swear, that collar is Zwei's emblem. Now, even though the fight between her and Tai Yang is kind of, you know, they are just sparring and it isn't really important who wins, Yang still isn't able to beat her old man. He still has the edge and he still has the experience, although Yang may have youth on her side. Now, upon losing, they kind of do a reflection on like, how can she get better and, you know, how she's doing so far. And although she's made great strides in confidence and getting back into the fighting spirit, Tai Yang tells Yang that something is still holding her back. Something is not allowing her to reach her full potential. Now, I honestly think that she still has a lot of fear, trust issues, and just overall confidence to gain back. Although, she seems to have gained a lot back rather quickly. I would have rather preferred to see a bit more in-depth development with Yang, how she finally gets back to being better. You know, it's slow, but she slowly builds up, and maybe a bit more, just a few more visuals of psychological torture. We really only saw 2 instances where she's just kind of messed up in the head and not quite the Yang that we used to know. But after she put on that metal arm, it was just like, oh no, she's fine now. Now, here's one of the things that I personally don't like about this episode, and it's also one of the things I kind of like about this episode. We get an episode where we concentrate on all the girls. We concentrate on RWBY, Weiss, Blake, and Yang. But the downside is we're focusing on RWBY, Weiss, Blake, and Yang. We're not dedicating like a full episode or a half of an episode to one character. It's just kind of jumping all over the place. And I've noticed that a lot with this volume. Something that just has felt off. This isn't even with me. It's with other people as well. It's just, it seems that bouncing from character to character, it's like we're not getting enough time to see this character struggle, to see how they're dealing with their problems. It's just, we see that they have a problem, we go away from them, and then we come back and they're either still have the problem or they're fine. And that's what's with Yang right now. Although she isn't back to full potential Yang that she was in Volume 3, it was a total shift where we had depressed Yang and now we have, Yang that's confident again. This Yang was so much closer to the Yang that we used to know that I was loving it. I loved seeing Yang back to how she used to be. But I feel like we just didn't earn it. We didn't see much of her struggle. We saw a little bit, but I just feel like we didn't see enough. And I know that there was a 6 to 8 month gap time skip, and I know that we can't concentrate on every single character and every single moment in that character's life, especially in a show like RWBY, where we're working with 12 episodes per volume, each episode ranging from anywhere from 12 to 18 minutes long. If each of those episodes were a half an hour, we would probably have enough time. But the big thing about RWBY is that it's time constraint. And as much as I would love to see more episodes or longer episodes, I know that it's impossible for Rooster Teeth to do right now. So even though I'm disappointed that we didn't really get to see Yang and later Weiss in this episode develop to the point where they are right now in this episode, as much as I would have loved to see those things, I know that it was kind of cut to save time. But just a word of advice, Rooster Teeth, if you're listening, I know you guys are smart, I know you know what's best for RWBY, but don't be afraid to show, not tell. Show the struggle, don't tell about it after the struggle is done. So, enough of my rambling. Yang is having trouble, and Taiyang tells her that she isn't reaching her full potential, and I already talked about how, she's probably still dealing with some issues, but there's another thing. She uses her semblance. If we look back to every single fight Yang has had in RWBY, she has used her semblance almost every single time to win the fight. Now, I know that Yang's semblance is powerful, and I know that it's sort of always present. She takes damage and then deals that damage back out, but the fact that she's relied on it so much to end fights really shows that she is dependent on it. RWBY is a competent fighter without using her speed semblance. Blake is a competent fighter without having to rely on her shadow clones all that much. And although Weiss uses her glyphs a lot in battle, she hasn't relied on them to win fights as much as Yang has. Taiyang even says that every single fight after the entrance fight, Yang used her semblance to win. Yang has always been a very stubborn, bullheaded, and up-close and personal type of person, and that goes perfectly with her semblance. But the problem with her semblance is that she relies on it too much, and as we have seen from her fight with Adam and from her fight with Neo, she can be taken out of a fight rather easily if damage isn't dealt to her in due course, or she's just hit so hard once that it takes her out of a fight. Taiyang proceeds to say that a semblance is good to use as a trump card, sort of something you use throughout a fight and maybe crank up to full maximum if you know you have to win. But using it all the time can exhaust its power, make people know how to fight you, and can tire you out. So this means that future Yang is going to have to rely not so much on her semblance and more on being skilled. So far, she's been good at doing what she does due to just pure brute force. So now we're gonna have to see a Yang that's more tactful and who uses more skill rather than strength. Tai tells Yang that she needs to think things through and be just a little bit more careful in her fights because she really only has one more arm left to lose, and that would just be too freaking sad. I mean, to lose both arms like that. I mean, it'd be funny, but it'd be sad. A nice little tidbit of trivia is that we have actually learned that Yang has had haircuts before. During this whole talk, Tai Yang talks about how giving her a haircut caused a little bit of trouble. So we know that she's had haircuts before, it's just that she loves her hair being that long. She likes her hair. She takes much pride in it. The next big thing to happen in this episode is that Tai Yang actually brings up Raven. Yang replies by pretty much saying that Tai Yang doesn't really talk about Raven all that much, especially around his daughter. But he brings it up now? Why? Why after keeping her a secret all this time? And well, Yang is an adult now. She has a right to know about her mother. Plus, Tai Yang is using her mother as a parallel to try to teach Yang a lesson. Tai talks about how Yang is so much like her mother, being strong, just bullheaded, passionate, but there's also some faults that he sees in Yang that were also in Raven. Both Raven and Yang have a deep respect for strength. Both Raven and Yang respect and rely on strength so much, not even in battle, but also just in day-to-day life. But by the way Tai Yang talks about Raven, you can tell that he still loves her. He still wishes that they were together. Now, of course, this brings up the whole idea, if he still loved Raven, why did he end up with Summer? Why did they have RWBY together? Which brings up a whole slew of other theories. Was Tai Yang and Summer's relationship truly love-centered? Did they just have a one-night stand out of just drunken misery and Summer Rose ended up pregnant? Was Summer Rose somehow already pregnant and just decided to be with Tai Yang because he was a father and she was a soon-to-be mother, so they just decided to be sort of parents together? So many theories, so many ideas that should be explored in a later video. But one of the biggest kickers of this is that Tai Yang actually tells Yang that Raven is the reason that Team Stark was torn apart and why they broke up. Raven was that reason. Even though Tai Yang sees so much of Raven in his little girl, he is so glad that he doesn't see all of her in Yang. And I'm happy for that too. Yang's a pretty awesome character. And by what we've seen of Raven, I wouldn't like Yang if she was completely like Raven. So we know that Team Stark was a competent, strong, and close team until Raven left, or until Raven drove the team to be torn apart. Now, how she did this and when it happened, we're not sure, but I'm pretty sure it happened somewhere around the time of Yang being born. A lot of people in the fandom have been talking about how, well, Crow's semblance is misfortune, so maybe Raven's semblance was somehow good fortune or luck, so they balanced each other out, and that's how they were able to operate as a team within Team Stark, which I kind of agree, that would make a lot of sense. If Raven somehow counteracted Crow's semblance, it worked out for everyone, but once she left, Crow's semblance could now affect the people that he loved, thus turning him into the solo man that he is and essentially ruining his life. So if that theory is correct, it's all Raven's fault. Awesome sister you got there. So after this pep talk from Dad, we see that Yang has taken her father's words to heart and actually starts to use her head a little, being able to best her father in a quick duel. And so Yang's part ends. Now, I was happy to see Yang's part. Wish there could have been more. I wish that there would have been more time of this episode dedicated to Yang, because Yang has had the least amount of screen time so far. But we gotta take what we can get right now. So we transition to my favorite member of Team RWBY right now, Weiss. So Weiss is practicing her summoning within her bedroom. And for some reason, she has the door open because Whitley is able to just come in and interrupt her, thus breaking her concentration, the semblance. God, I hate Whitley so damn much. Of course he feigns concern on how he's so deeply sorry about breaking her concentration and that he only came by to ask her, you know, oh, I'm going into town to meet some business partners of father. Would you like me to pick something up because, you know, you're trapped here like a freaking prisoner? I want to strangle his little fucking throat. Now, I wonder if these business partners of Papa Schnee are going to somehow play into the plot somehow. Maybe it's Professor Watts. Remember him? Back in episode 1? Yes, it is true that Dr. Watts was introduced in the first episode of Volume 4 and pretty much just completely fell out of the limelight after that. He's in the intro, for Pete's sake, and he's barely been in any other volume. So I'm hoping that he at least is maybe one of these business partners. That would at least, you know, make it cool. Make us, like, figure out, oh, so this is what he's been doing the whole time. But back to Weiss. So Weiss is just like, no, I don't need none of your shit, Whitley. I don't need your pity or any of your stuff. You are a bad person. And at her decline, Whitley decides to leave. But Weiss brings up a really good question. She asks Whitley if he's jealous of her. If he's jealous of her and Winter because of what they can do, of their abilities. Which makes me wonder, does Whitley have the Schnee semblance? I know that it's passed down through the generations and through, you know, genetics. But what if his is just so weak, or maybe it somehow skipped him that he doesn't have the glyphs? That would make a lot of sense why he went to his father and went under his wing, because he cannot be a huntsman like Winter or Weiss. Or maybe he does, and he just doesn't see it as something he wants to do. And he actually says that. Whitley seems to not see the purpose of the huntsman. He finds the idea of fighting and using glyphs and doing all that stuff as barbaric and something just so old worldly. He doesn't see the relevance of what one huntsman can do besides, you know, an army. He doesn't see the relevance of having the huntsman if we already have an army. Well, a huntsman isn't tied down to any one kingdom. They can do whatever they want. They fight for the justice and for the protection of everyone, not just certain people. An army only fights for certain people or when they're ordered to. And this brings up just something weird about Whitley. Okay, so he's talking about how, like, oh, using glyphs, fighting, it's so barbaric. It's like, you have freaking superpowers! Why would you not want that? See, this part of Whitley just makes me think of Shinji Ikari from Neon Genesis Evangelion. Okay, Shinji, you have the opportunity to pilot a mech and kill monsters. That is so epic. But what does he do? He doesn't want to, because I don't want to. It's like, dude, destiny is calling. Epicness is calling. And you're not taking it. What kind of piece of shit are you? So that's pretty much Whitley. Although he finds fighting barbaric, he won't even dabble in it a little to acquire superpowers. I would be dabbling the heck out of it if I could get superpowers out of it. And so the downfall of Whitley's character continues as he talks about how even though he doesn't see the relevance of the huntsman when there's an army, he finds the leader of the army to be a fool. He thinks Ironwood is a fool and dumb and stupid. Obviously, he's been drinking too much Jacques juice, too much Papa Schnee juice to think that. Because Ironwood knows what's best for the world. I think Ironwood is just mostly trapped by the politics of Atlas to do anything of substance. He wants to try to help. He is on Weiss's side for all we know. He is just tied down by politics. He wanted Weiss to come to Atlas Academy before she came back, before she was trapped in her manor. So Whitley loses points with me there if he thinks Ironwood is a fool, because Ironwood isn't. And so Whitley decides to leave, and he's just like, oh, I don't see the point of using glyphs and magic and stuff, and, well, let's just say he gets his just desserts. Weiss essentially bitch slaps him with the door using the powers that he finds oh so barbaric. And oh, the sweet justice of irony. I just want to eat it up like a fine donut. But now that Whitley's gone, Weiss can concentrate on what is truly important. Learning how to summon and perfecting it. So she goes back to summoning. She's summoning, she's concentrating, the glyph's going, and the window explodes because big outlet of energy. And as it does, someone, holy crap! Someone new just climbed into her. Oh yeah, that's Klein, right? Klein, yeah, Klein, the butler. Once again, a character who is introduced in episode 2 this time that we're just now seeing again. As much as I'm liking all these new characters being introduced in Volume 4, it's like they're not being used enough. And I just kind of find that a little sad. But essentially, Weiss has learned to control her emotions, has practiced enough, and is finally able to summon as her sister Winter does. Although it takes Weiss a bit more time than Winter, Weiss has finally been able to summon a full suit of Grim armor from the white trailer. And it's beautiful, it's amazing, it's convenient. And kind of bullshit. Now, back at the end of Volume 3, Weiss was able to summon its arm and a sword. And that was all. And that was when her emotions were high. But, and all we know, for all we know, during the 6 to 8 month gap time skip, she has been practicing night and day to learn how to summon. And as we know, she had been practicing all that morning when Whitley interrupted her. But it's just such a jump from when we've last seen her try to summon. The last time we tried to see her summon was in Volume 3. She was able to summon the arm and the sword. She cut a mech paladin in half and saved Velvet. Cool, awesome. And then the next time we see her try to do it, she's able to summon the entire thing pretty much easy peasy. Once again, going back to the whole thing of show, don't tell, Rooster Teeth. You should have showed us her struggle with trying to learn how to summon. But it just seems sort of like a cop-out that now it's here. Now she's able to summon, like, perfectly. All she needs to work on is summoning faster. It just seems... I just don't like it. Just how convenient and how soon and how quick it was. I mean, I really, really, really wish they would have taken more time with Weiss learning how to summon and all that. But once again, we gotta take what we can get. We gotta take what we can get. Although her summoning the White Knight is cool, it is epic. I just wish it would have been through different means. So, Weiss asks Klein for a favor, and by the look we see on Klein's face, he's ready. He's been waiting for this day. He is going to help her so much. I'm thinking full-blown jailbreak. She's gonna break out of the Schnee Manor maybe with Klein in tow. I think a section of maybe the next volume where Weiss and Klein are traveling together would be awesome. We would get to see more of Klein. We would get to see how Weiss interacts with Klein. Once again, wish we would have had more time with Weiss and Klein together in this volume. We gotta take what we can get. I'm hoping that maybe Weiss will try to, sabotage her father's, going to talk to his contacts and his business partners. Or maybe she'll just flat out run away, go to either Mantle or Atlas Academy. That's what I'm hoping for Weiss. And with the Weiss part over, we transition now to our favorite Faunus, Sun. I'm just kidding, no. Yeah, Sun. He is my favorite Faunus right now. Well, besides Velvet. Velvet's pretty cool. This joke's old. We're going to Blake. So Blake and Sun are continuing to chase the spy through the trees. And although Blake is starting to catch up, Sun tries his best to try to catch the spy, try to, stop the spy. But every time he does, he just, he fails, he tries. And Blake is just like, we gotta get the spy, all this stuff. And so they're just running, chasing after the spy. Finally, Blake is able to confront the spy. And she is able to break the spy's White Fang mask. And as it crumbles, we see that there's actually a person underneath that mask. Of course there was. And throughout the chase, and definitely here, we see that this Faunus is a reptile Faunus. A new variant. Of course, we had seen this type of Faunus while they were walking through the Menagerie Marketplace, but now we get to see one up close and personal, and we get to see how they react. This chameleon Faunus, I believe, is able to change her skin tone and even change her eye color. She's able to change her skin tones to blues, to greens, to reds, to orange, to just normal shades. And she even had it as a black nightshade to help aid in her camouflage while spying on the Belladonna Manor. Now, the weapon that this Faunus has is strange. It's some sort of whip, drill, dust, stinger thing. It's definitely a weapon that is unique. It is probably one of the more unique weapons that we have seen in a long time. I mean, there's only so much uniqueness you can get when you have swords, guns, and hammers. Now, by the way Blake and this spy react to each other shows that they have had a history together. I believe the spy's name is Ilya? I believe that's how it's pronounced. And you can tell just by how they end up reacting to each other once Blake sees her face that they know each other from somewhere. Maybe old childhood friends, maybe they were both members of the same White Fang unit, but we know that they know each other. So once again, we have even more characters being introduced. We should concentrate on the characters we already have. You know what, it's fine, whatever, it's not my show, I just review it. And although it pains me to see, oh, well, this is obviously going to be a big character because she's had a past with Blake. Although it pains me to know that we're going to have to be going into depth on this character. I'm like, well, can't we go into more depth about a character that's already been introduced, please? By the way Ilya responds to Blake asking her what she's doing there, you can tell that although Ilya regarded Blake as a friend once, she knows that what is going to happen to Blake is going to be bad, and she cannot stop it. She says, you shouldn't have come back. That's what she pretty much says. You shouldn't have done this. You shouldn't have come back. Now I have to take you out. So although these two were friends in the past, Ilya is still dedicated to the White Fang cause. She's drunk too much of the Kool-Aid. Blake was able to get out of that Kool-Aid. She's no longer addicted to the Kool-Aid. Sun is able to arrive just in the nick of time to help get his scroll back from the spy. He's able to fight her off, do this or that, and didn't Blake and Sun bring their weapons? I'm sure I saw Blake with her weapon at one point, but maybe it was an animation error, but it's like, come on, fight this girl. I mean, it's 2 against 1, you can easily win. But instead, they're just content with getting back the phone. And as Blake goes for it, Sun decides to use his semblance, crank it into overdrive, and pin Ilya to the ground. Now, we have seen Sun use 2 of his Sun clones in order to aid him in battle and help fling him around the battlefield. Now, upon this, he's using 5, maybe 7 of these clones, and he's holding Ilya down with them. And as much as he's struggling, Blake stops while she's going for the phone and looks back at him. It's like, bitch, get the phone! It's right there! Why are you looking back? And the only reason I say that is because I've seen a picture of it on the internet, and I was all like, yeah! So although Blake is successful in getting the phone back, Sun is pretty much drains his whole aura, you know, holding down Ilya, and she does one final attack in order for her to escape. She attacks Sun and is able to drill straight through what remaining aura he has left and hits him straight in the chest. And this allows her to make her escape. Now, as much as Blake has just been busting my balls throughout this volume, she looks down at a wounded Sun, pleading, not again, not again, and she wants to help him. She puts her hands over the wound, and I hope that she's able to get him some help fast, because like that, he was pierced pretty close to the heart. So he can be in pretty critical condition, and there was blood. There was penetration in that stab. So Sun is in pretty bad shape. Now, Blake doesn't want to see another one of her friends get maimed, get hurt, or die because of her past. We've already seen Yang come across the very same, pretty much, it happened to Yang. It happened to Yang. She lost her arm. Now Sun has been stabbed by another person from Blake's past who she once considered a friend. You know, I don't think Crow's the only one whose semblance is misfortune. I think it's Blake. I mean, if you break it down, she is a black cat, and black cats really aren't prone to bringing good luck to people. And by what we've seen, Adam turned into a monster, Yang got her arm cut off, and now Sun is pretty darn hurt. It's sad. It's sad that this has to happen to Blake all the time. As much as I want Blake to get better as a character, using her as a punching bag like this, using her as an emotional punching bag by the creators and by the world of Remnant is just sad. Blakey, I want you to get better. I want you to stop suffering so that you can get better. So I hope and pray to the gods that Sun will be okay, for the sake of him as well as Blake. Final transition takes us to Team Ranger as they're continuing on their journey. Now, as Ren and Nora are scouting up front, it's up to Jean and RWBY to carry Crow. Sure, make RWBY carry Crow. I mean, Nora doesn't have super strength or anything, and it's not like they have another guy there to carry Crow. I understand that RWBY is Crow's niece, and she probably wants to be close to him, but, I mean, who knows? Maybe they've been trading off who's been carrying him this whole time. Now, Crow is mumbling in his sleep. He's kind of just mumbling incoherently, and it's not really making sense. But we do get a few key words on what he's saying. He says, she's not. Tai, she's not. I believe he's talking to Tai Yang during this point. But the real question is, who is he talking about? Is he talking about Summer? Is he talking about Raven? Is he talking about RWBY? All of those are she's. And every single one has essentially left Tai Yang in some way. You know, Raven left to go do whatever she wanted to do. Summer died. and RWBY went to form Team Ranger and go to Mistral. If it was up to me, I would think that Crow would be talking about Summer Rose and maybe how his semblance may have caused her to die. He has to break it to Ty. It's just sad. Or maybe Crow didn't tell Ty that he was responsible for Summer Rose's death, and sort of now in his poisoned unconscious stupor, he's kind of saying what he's always wanted to say to Ty for so many years. As Crow is mumbling to himself, we see that Team Ranger has gotten to a crossroads in the road. We see that Mistral lies on a path that goes deep into the mountains, but the only other village that's nearby is down a road that's going in the opposite direction, and that village's name is crossed out. So for all we know, it's completely gone. The village's name is Konayuri, and Ren will not go there. He pretty much says it's gone. We don't need to go there. It's a lost cause. RWBY argues that there might be medicine there. There might be some people there, or at least some people on the way that can help aid Crow. And even if they didn't go down that way, going through the mountain pass would be even worse. They'd be slower, they would be in a dangerous position, and they might not even make it over. It might be too hard on Crow. Although Mistral and Salvation lies just over the mountains, they're just so close, but yet so far. And so Team Ranger decides to do what everyone shouldn't do in a horror movie. Let's split up. Let's divide our efforts. I'm so glad Team Ranger is full of smart people. Now, let it be known that I understand that the situation is dire. It's important that Crow gets help as well as Crow remains alive. Now, I know that the way that they split up, it does make sense. The ones that aren't occupied with Crow will go straight through the mountains, straight to Mistral, and get help, while the other two are going to do their best to try to stabilize Crow or take him around the mountains to maybe a village or some people that can aid him. But remember, you're in dangerous territory. The only reason you've gotten to this point without so much as anything bad happening, really, is because Crow has been at your back the whole time, killing Grim and watching your back. The moment you split up, you're going to be opening yourself to Grim attack, to more delays, and to possible injury. So Ren and Nora, being the dynamic duo that they are, decide that they're going to head through the mountain pass and go straight for Mistral to try to get help. And that's probably the best case scenario. They're not laying down, they won't be distracted like RWBY would if they were to leave Crow, and they look out for each other. They've always looked out for each other, and if any two are going to make it to Mistral in order to get help, it's gonna be those two. Ren knows the land, and Nora is loyal to a fault. Jean and RWBY decide that they're going to head to Kuroyuri, or at least to the ruins of the town, to try to find help and to try to find medicine. So as much as Jean disagreed and didn't like what Crow had told him, Jean doesn't want Crow to die. He doesn't want to see Crow bite the dust and RWBY to just be devastated because of it. He wants Crow to live, maybe to just get more information out of him. But by the way he's acting, Jean doesn't have a lot of hope. And I don't like mopey Jean. I really, really don't. I want positive Jean again. Please bring back positive Jean. I would be so happy. So as our two pairs divide and conquer, RWBY and Jean continue down the road as Ren and Nora begin to hastily run down their path to get to the mountains and of course to Mistral. And as RWBY and Jean continue on their way, RWBY says that everything's gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be fine. And well, RWBY, famous last words. Famous last words. Because, well, something has been following them. Something for a while has been following them. What is it? We don't know. What does it look like? Uncertain. all we can tell about it is the footprint that it leaves behind. A footprint that looks very much like a hoof. Now, this hoof print was last seen in Shion Village. Ren and Nora spotted it, and they seemed to know what it was. Now, at the time, I believed that it was some sort of bandit symbol due to the solidarity of it. There wasn't any other footprints like that around, and by the way that it was sort of built up, it sort of made sense that it would be a bandit symbol. The dying huntsman talked about how they were attacked by bandits and then attacked by the Grimm. So, what if the bandits left a mark behind and then the Grimm came in and totally finished everything off? It would make sense. But then the same exact symbol appears as a footstep following Jean and Ruby. So I believe it's now a footstep of some form of Grimm that's been following them. An invisible Grimm? We've never heard of something like that before, and it really has only seemed to leave one footprint so far, and it seemed to be some sort of hoof. So can it be some form of maybe a bull, a centaur, some sort of horse demon? I mean, the possibilities of it are endless because this thing is still invisible and it still very well may be a bandit symbol and was just sort of branded there by like invisible bandits of Raven's tribe. For all we know, that's the case. I don't know. All we know is that Ruby and John are gonna be in for a fight. And with a injured crow and a dying crow, things aren't looking all too well for our trio, are they? And I'm just hoping that they're able to get to at least the ruins of Kuriuri before this thing decides to strike. And so, the grand episode of episode 9 finally ends. Now this episode, once again, had all 4 of our main ladies in it, and it just sort of feels like it just bounced around so much. We didn't get really enough time with any of the girls to make it really worth anything. Although we did move forward in plot points and we did get some awesome scenes, it just seemed like almost way too much for me. Like, if it was just like 2 girls, that's fine. But like with all 4 girls, with all different storylines going on, it just felt like a bombardment of information. Now, with the conclusion of this episode, a lot of people have been saying that both Crow and Sun are liable to die. Both of them are on the chopping block, and there have been a lot of battles going. Who will survive? Sun or Crow? Will any of them survive? Well, which one do you want more to live? Well, on the scope of which one will live, I wish to bring up a meme that was created with one of my favorite cartoon characters, although he has never said it in the show. Why not both? Hey everybody, thanks for watching this review. I hope that you enjoyed, and I am finally caught up. I am so happy to be caught up. Now I can experience the episodes along with you guys and get the reviews of the most current episodes out to you guys in due course. So be sure to hit like and favorite if you've enjoyed, subscribe of course if you feel inclined to, check out some links down in the description taking you to some other videos that I've done, as well as taking you to social media pages, even my Patreon if you want to support me on Patreon. Big thanks to my Patreon sponsors. They're going to be up on the screen right now. I love you guys very much, and I'll see you guys next time I'm out there in YouTube land. Be a good person, tip your waitresses, keep moving forward. I'll see you then.